Welcome, everyone. It's really good to be with you here today. And I'm really glad to be here today with one of my favorite mentors and teachers. He's a top coach and a leading spiritual teacher, and he's based in Calgary, Canada. And Bernie Fitterer has spent over the last 4 decades walking his spiritual path and the last 30 years walking alongside the spiritual teachings of A Course in Miracles, which is what we're going to be speaking about today. He helps to bring in ideas from the course into real and lived understanding for his students, as well as for people in his private coaching practice. So I'm excited for this opportunity to have another conversation with him. And today we're going to be having a conversation on the topic of thought. So welcome, Bernie.
Thank you, Liz. It's great to be back. Thank you again for the introduction. I appreciate your enthusiasm for how you've introduced me and look forward to our conversation.
Well, it's lovely to have you back. And so it is on the topic of thought today and how that ties into developing our trust. So I thought I would open the conversation with asking you about how many of us spiritual seekers believe that we're thinking spiritual thoughts, and yet we still hold on to anxiety. We feel anxious. We might lack trust and feel uncertain. And yet, from the perspective of a teacher of God, how do we begin to recognize the difference between our ordinary thinking and what the Course in Miracles calls true thought?
Hmm. Great question, Liz. So thank you for asking that. And I know it's a meaningful question. So I'm going to start off with this. We are created as a formless thought, according to what the Course says. And as a formless thought, we're created in God's image. That's our true identity as formless spirit. And when we are accepting that we are a thought, not a body, we exist in the mind of God in heaven and we find peace of mind. Anytime that we are less than in that sense of peace, we go into a place of believing. And so I'm going to just state this once more. When we are thinking true thoughts, we are recognizing we are spirit, not bodies. So we think true thoughts when we are aligned with God in our minds, and thus we are not acknowledging or identifying ourselves as bodies. The only time we'll feel anxious is when we are placing our body image, our own imagining of ourselves ahead of true thinking or true thought. And we focus on believing that we're bodies rather than understanding the thought that we are. So with that, it's important that we honor our bodies, we look after them, we take care of them. And we also recognize the five senses that our body has and how that plays out for us. So our senses are data receptors that we will interpret if we're coming from a place of body, that we will interpret that there's pleasure or pain. And with that, we fear that the pain will never go away. And we also fear that the pleasure won't last. So whenever we're in that kind of a mindset, we are missing really what there is. And the Course says that the Course in Miracles says that there's two emotions, love and fear. So again, when we remember that we're created as a thought of love, we are not believing that we're bodies. When we do believe we're bodies, fear enters our mind. And it's up to us to separate our ego mind that holds us in belief and fear to validate itself, and also to then recognize that when we are in that place, it interferes with thinking thoughts, the true thoughts of what we are, that we are created as love. And in this, I'll try and tie it all together. So when we're seeking, what we're doing is we're putting our egos first. Our ego always seeks for pleasure, and it's looking for an emotional charge for itself. Yet, with with our minds being split by our ego, we are existing in fear, and thus we end up with feeling anxious, we feel uncertain, and we feel that there's a lack. And when we're having any of those beliefs, we are not trusting and we're not thinking true thoughts of what we are. So it's up to us to acknowledge or identify when we are feeling beliefs, when we're feeling anything other than thoughts of love. It's because we are not thinking and we're believing.
Wow, that's a really rich teaching that you've just given. I'm going to have to listen to this recording again because there is so much in there. And I really enjoy the way that you break it down. You really, really break it down to its essence. So I, for one, am going to be listening to this recording again. Thank you for that.
Mm.
So I'd like to ask you also, the Course speaks about beliefs as holding an element of doubt. And while true thought comes from the divine, so how can someone begin to notice when they are operating from belief rather than from true thought? And why does this distinction matter so deeply for those who are called to be teachers of God?
So again, thank you, Liz, for the question. And the thing with being teachers of God is that in the Course it says that we are all called and only a few will answer. And it's in our failure to answer that we fall into ego beliefs and we believe that we're not worthy of teaching. We're not thinking with God at that point. We're not thinking from a place of love. And with that, our unworthiness believes that we're causes us to believe that we're not safe. And so it's easy to default into, well, I'm not going to teach anything. Yet, the course also says, and it's true no matter how you look at it, we're always demonstrating or teaching something. And so the question we can ask ourselves is, am I intentionally teaching from a place of love, or am I defaulting into teaching fear? I'm going to say that again. The real question is not whether or not we are teachers, but whether we are intentionally teaching love or are we defaulting into teaching fear? When we believe we're unworthy, when we hold an element of doubt, we're in a mindset of belief, which is not thought. And when we are worthy to teach love, what we're doing is we're actually co-creating or creating love. And what's really important that we apply what the Course calls positive denial. So we deny our beliefs, our doubts, and our fears, and that realigns our minds back to true thought and our true self as a thought of love. When our minds are filled with thoughts of love, we'll recognize that because we'll feel a sense of peace, peace beyond doubt. And in that, we can convey and teach love with certainty. We convey, teach, extend love, demonstrate love with certainty that is beyond fear, belief, and doubt. And
It's
just to give an example of that, the how that
okay.
shows up is that what I find for myself, if I'm working with people or dealing with people,
Hmm.
uh, whether it's like this on Zoom or if I'm walking into a room or meeting someone, what's really critical is I do a self-assessment. What is my body like? Am my shoulders folded in? My head down? Am I looking down? It's always an indicator that there's an element of doubt, there's an element of uncertainty there. Yet, when I recognize that, I can ask to have guidance, to allow me to be certain, to allow me to move forward. And as I allow myself to receive that guidance, what I find is that my shoulders will go back, chest comes out, my head is up, and pardon me, I will speak with clarity. I will speak with much more certainty. And in doing so, that not only has an impact, an imprint on me, but it also affects the people that I'm working with or dealing with or talking to, because they will have confidence to speak with more certainty that the doubt and fear leaves them. And in that, what I've found, and I'll ask everyone here, is that when you practice that, when you speak with more certainty, just kind of assess how trust is growing in you and how it grows with each other when you are coming from that place of true thought that is being exchanged with certainty, as opposed to a belief that you may need to be afraid in the conversation or in the situation. When you're thinking and presenting with certain, you're presenting as a thought with certainty, everyone will rise in their experience.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to say that I love the fact that you are giving guidance on an immediate reference point for what's going on in the moment. Because when you responded to the question, it just highlighted to me that it truly is so moment to moment to receive that divine guidance. And it feels like it's out of reach. It can feel like, for me, it could feel like it's out of reach because it's so moment to moment. And so I really like the fact that you've mentioned, we can just quickly assess our body posture in the moment, which is so easy to do. And that from there, it's kind of a gauge for us as to whether we're receiving truly divine guidance or whether we need to ask for it. So thank you for that. I think a lot of people are going to find that helpful, and not just myself.
As long as we've got these bodies, we can use them as an instrument as a gauge to determine where we're at.
Yeah, yeah. And I like it because, in the Course in Miracles, it's very much focused on the mind. And it's not saying to disregard the body at all, but we can get caught in that mindset. So I love the tie in here because it's very much about embodiment also. And it just feels like an easy reference point. Yeah, I really like that a lot. So thank you for that. You have, at the end of the month, you have a great program coming up from May 29th until June 1st, I think. You're offering an online 4-day webinar series called Shift Your Thought and Shape Your Trust. And it's going to be very practical 90-minute sessions. And on day one, we are going to be exploring this exact topic of thought. And the sessions are going to be, well, I'll just give you a description. It's going to be some teaching and self-reflection. You're offering breakout rooms after that into smaller groups where people will be reflecting and sharing on specific exercises. And then they'll be sharing with the wider group and ample of Q&A time. And people will have access to premium coaching from Bernie also. So it's an invitation to sign up, really to build our self-awareness, to bring practice and to share and learn from each other. So if this speaks to you, registration is now set up. And one of the things I think is important to highlight is that you're offering a safe container that is restricted to 25 people. And I think that's important because you've intentionally set it up so that each person feels like they're going to have abundant space to be seen, and it'll offer insightful interactions also in the breakout rooms. And then plus, again, as I mentioned, there's going to be premium coaching from you and questions answered. So the early bird pricing seems to be a very reasonable cost of $250, and that is until May 15th, after which time it'll go up to $299. And for those who are already on the wait list and have contacted Bernie directly, you can look out for an email over the next couple of days that'll offer the program outline and all the details on how to sign up. And for people that are viewing today and watching this who are not on the wait list yet, but this is resonating with them, I invite you can message Bernie directly on this. So thank you very much, Bernie. And I, for one, am very excited for your program. And do you have any final words that you would like to offer the viewers before we close today's conversation?
I guess the big thing is, Liz, just pay attention to the thoughts and beliefs and allow the beliefs to fade and just recognize your divine self as a thought of love.
Fantastic. Thank you. So I'm already looking forward to our next conversation, and that's going to be on the topic of truth. So our viewers can look forward to that very soon. And Bernie, I want to thank you again for your time today.
Thank you very much, Liz. We'll chat some more.